All right, good afternoon, everybody. I know everyone's still grabbing lunch and getting settled in here. I hope everyone's having a good symposium so far. This is a great turnout. It's great to see so many people. My name is Tim Williams. I work for DCGS in the Office of Public Safety. And today I have the privilege of introducing our lunchtime speaker for you, Director Hugh Clements from the Department of Justice Community-Oriented Policing Services Office. Director Clements has over 40 years of law enforcement experience with the Providence Police Department, where he started as a patrol officer and rose through the ranks and was appointed the 37th Chief of the Department in 2012. Throughout his career, Director Clements has worked closely with law enforcement agencies, civil rights groups, community organizations. He's a recipient of numerous commendations, including the Providence Police Chiefs Award and the White House Champions of Change Award for reducing drug use and building a healthier America. Now in his role as director of the COPS office, Director Clements works to promote the practice of community-oriented policing through information and grant resources. Please welcome me, or no, welcome me, I'm here. Please join me in welcoming Director Clements.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you to the New York Criminal Justice Services Public Safety Symposium. I want to thank and I applaud Tony DeBruzzo and Chuck Tyree for your leadership. This is a great group, and I'm surprised that it has not been replicated, and it certainly may be around the country, although I've just been told by Chuck that they can't replicate what we've done here. So I like that style, but it really is good because it's everything I've done in my career, to be honest with you. Looking at what we deal with a wide lens, with a community-wide approach in making all of our communities better, wherever you're from. So it really is an honor for me to be here today based on my 38 years with the City of Providence and where I am now in the COPS office. I spent half of my career in patrol and half of my career in the investigative side. Coming up through the ranks, every time you make rank, you go back to patrol, which I loved. And, you know, I worked many, many years in investigations, narcotics, detectives, major crimes. I worked very closely over the years with the New York State Police and the NYPD. And I was up here a lot. The last time I was in Albany, I was testifying in a grand jury. So I value that partnership and that relationship. And I mean this. I love the work you're doing in the field, whether you're a city police officer, a small and rural police officer, whether you're in prosecution, whether you're a clinician, whether you're an analyst, because it really is a holistic approach in attacking the social ills. It's a tough assignment, and make no mistake about it. Nobody in this room is doing it for the glory or the money. We're certainly not doing it for the money. Even where I am now, I mean, there's not big money in these type of jobs. There's decent money. You'll make a decent living. You'll never become rich doing just this. You're doing it for the value in what you're giving back to your community because you care about your communities. I did. I love the city I'm from, the city of Providence. I love the men and women that went out there and served. But as well, I love those people who worked in the same space like you, from the courts, from the jails, the social service partners, and it's important. So the themes you've been talking about here, leadership, officer safety and wellness, and evidence-based policing are things I'm all very familiar with and I care passionately about. In this space that we work in, we are tasked with correcting the social ills. You know, I speak all the time about the roles we have are pretty simple. The mission probably of every department is to reduce crime, fear, and disorder. And once again, we're back to Homeland Security. So reduce crime, fear, disorder, and Homeland Security while protecting constitutional rights and civil rights. And that sounds pretty easy, pretty simple. but we all know it's complicated. It is a very complex assignment we all have. It's dynamic. It's evolving every single day. That's why they make movies about police. There's so many movies about policing. There's so many TV shows about policing over the years, whether it was Hill Street Blues or NYPD or Chicago, or people are fascinated by it because it's reality TV. And not reality TV like Live PD and Cops. That's reality TV that is very well liked as well. But what we do out there are real problems, real issues, thorny, complicated issues that police and the criminal justice system are asked to correct and get it right every single time. And it's nearly impossible. So my hat goes out to you for operating in this very complicated world to correct the social ills, violent crime, crime in general, mental health, addiction. Addiction has been placed, all of these social ills have been placed squarely at the feet of the criminal justice professionals, right or wrong, including mental homelessness has now been placed at the feet of police. And it's like, 10 o'clock at night on a Friday night or 2 in the morning on a Saturday, who are you going to call? You will call your local police to deal with that issue. And you damn better hope that your police department is looking at these issues in a very comprehensive way, and you have clinicians with you, trained clinicians and professionals, and you have a solid crisis intervention team to react and proactively address these issues. Because, as I say, these social ills are complicated, and the law enforcement and the criminal justice folks are asked to be there and to get it right every time. While I was the chief, I was in Providence 38 years. I was the chief the last 12. And I would go to roll call all the time. And, I went there in good times. I didn't only show up in bad times at roll call. Sometimes they would be like, okay, who's in trouble? What happened? Is there an indictment? Is there a scandal? But I would go there all the time in good times and thank the rank and file for the work they did, but also to let them know the importance of the work they do in their space in the field, because it really is important work. And near the end, I almost stayed 4 more years, but I had this great opportunity with a couple of phone calls from D.C. to come to the COPS office, the Community-Oriented Policing Services Office under the Department of Justice. And it was very intriguing to me, and here I am. I've been here 1.5 years, and in all honesty, it feels like 5 years. I'm on the road a lot, but I think it's important to spread the word about all the great work that we're pushing down into the field. The COPS office is a 3-legged stool. It is not only a grant-making operation. The second leg is training and technical assistance, and the third leg is resources and publications. So it's a huge office. Presently, we have in play $1.34 billion in play, because some of the grants are on 3-year cycles. This particular year, we pushed out $651 million in grants. In fact, last night, I got called yesterday afternoon that I better start getting in the system, clicking on all the agencies who have been awarded, because they're all waiting out there. We're right in the midst of awarding our grants, and everyone is anxious. Did we get a grant in this particular bucket, or didn't we? And I will say this, $651 million or $1.34 billion that we have in play, it sounds like a big number, and it is a big number. But it's really not when you look at the full scope of law enforcement in these United States. There's 18,000 police departments in this country. So $651 million, I will tell you the needs far outpace the funding that we have appropriated to put in the field. And that's unfortunate, because every single grant we get for law enforcement, mental health and wellness, or school violence prevention, or so on and so forth, it's 3 to 1. We will award 1 out of every 3 or 4 of those applications, so it's very competitive. They're all competitive grants. So this year, we've dedicated $151 million to the CHIP program, the cops hiring, to put men and women badly needed in communities around the country. And we all know it's a difficult moment with recruitment and retention, but any extra dollar or any extra benefit package you can provide to your local communities to put uniformed officers on the street is helpful, and we know that. So $150 million there. We have a big bucket of funding in our SVPP, the School Violence Prevention Program. And clearly, that is a highly focused area where, unfortunately, we just don't know where the next event could occur. But there's a lot we can be doing to mitigate and avert and prepare for those type situations. And we're doing a lot in that space in the COPS office. So $73 million towards SVPP. As well, we call it the PASS, the Preparing for Active Shooter Situations. Again, we're doing a lot nationally, regionally, and locally with preparing departments for how they respond to active shooter. And I'll get into the one highlighted one in a moment. Also, towards drugs. Look, the COPS office is laser focused, probably like many of you, on 3 major items, but it will be a focus for as long as I'm here on crime, violent crime, drugs. Fentanyl is killing America. Big cities, small and rural, suburban areas, it's destroying America. So we're focused there. And law enforcement, mental health and wellness. For our own people out there doing the job, whether they're sworn or civilian, but it's a focus, and it's a focus in our community. Many people are struggling during this difficult moment. There's a lot of tension, and people are struggling, even young kids in school. Some kids are scared to death to go to school, so it's a real issue. So some of the other funding we have is LEMWA, Law Enforcement, Mental Health and Wellness, towards our own folks. We have $10 million dedicated towards those innovative programs. And the last one I'll mention is CPD, Community Policing Development. And within CPD, we have about $25 million dedicated towards accreditation, de-escalation, and CIT, crisis intervention teams and training. Important funding, but I will tell you, it will be those agencies who have the most innovative and creative ideas in their application who are awarded that grant money. Unfortunately, the needs outpace the funding, so it's tough. It's tough for us to reach everyone who really could use the funding. But there's really some great ideas out there, and I'll speak about what we're doing on the COP side to lift up those best practices in innovative projects around the country, because like we all know, we can all steal from each other some of these good ideas and try to incorporate them in our own communities as leaders of departments or individual units. So that's on the grant side. On the training and technical assistance side, we have Collaborative Reform Initiative, a wildly popular program in the Department of Justice where police departments around the country, we only get involved, the COPS office, as requested. So it will be leaders of a community along with their police leader. More times than not, it's the police leader, the chief or somebody at the executive level that will reach out to a member of the COPS team and request assistance in one of these areas. And we have a fabulous team that pushes forth these products that we have under Collaborative Reform Initiative. Again, that is a 3-legged stool. Collaborative Reform Initiative, the first leg of the stool is CRITAC. Many in this room have probably heard of CRITAC. It's the Collaborative Reform Initiative Technical Assistance Center. That is the first lowest tier level and most popular level of assistance we give to agencies around the country. and we give assistance and grants to state, local, tribal, and territorial. So it's a huge arena that we operate in. But CRITAC, we have 9 partners. So it's administered by the COPS office along with IACP, and the partners are the biggest and the best out there. So it's the FOP, very involved in CRITAC, the FBI, National Academy, IATLIST, Standards and Training, NOBLE, Black Law Enforcement Executives, NALI, National Association Women Law Enforcement Executives, National Sheriff's Association, and NTOA, National Tactical Officers Association. They all have a piece and a footprint in CRITAC, and I mention all their names because when we have a request from an individual agency, we're able to give that agency what they need, whether it's community engagement, whether it's active shooter, whatever the situation might be, we're able to give them the best subject matter experts from these groups, like Uvalde, which I'll speak about in 1 minute. We had some of the best subject matter experts on counseling, on active shooter, on training, and it's really helpful in giving guidance and direction to agencies that, quite frankly, they don't have the resources to do that training or to get that training. And so the 2 beauties of the COPS office are it's at request of police leaders and executives in municipal government. It has to be in tandem, number 1, and it's for free. Everything that the COPS office delivers is for free. So it's very helpful, and it's a very popular program. And the last leg of the stool that we have is publications. But under collaborative reform, the first leg is CRITAC. The second leg is critical response. Unfortunately, there's no shortage of critical responses that we're involved in the past or we're involved in right now. Right now, we're involved in, and that's a pretty high level of involvement from the COPS office. It is for agencies who have had a high-profile incident, a major event in their community, and we all know, we watch at least once a week, there's a major event around this country where the COPS office will be tapped on the shoulder or a sensitive issue of varying needs. I'll give an example. A ways back, Memphis, Tennessee, Tyree Nichols was tragically murdered by some bad law enforcement out there, really was. And we were tapped on the shoulder to assist that chief, that agency, that community with trying to right the situation. And I was tapped on the shoulder by leadership to another thing we do in the office is we have the ability to run convening sessions. So we can use the bully pulpit of the COPS office to invite some of the best law enforcement leaders and community leaders in the country. We pay for them to come in. We sit around a beautiful venue in Washington, D.C. We will discuss the issue at hand and have a fabulous team from the COPS office, a team of writers that 3 months later will produce a publication that is very well read out there in the community. While I'm here, let me mention Nicole Pruss and Jeremy Kamal-Burstein here from the COPS office who presented earlier today and will be here throughout the end of this conference. Thank you, Nicole. And Jeremy had to walk out. But the critical response, we're in, I think, 7 or 8 major cities right now, giving varying degrees of advice on different issues. And it's important. And the leadership, we save agencies, we save police leaders, their positions, and the community is all the better for it in the end. The last leg of collaborative reform initiative is organizational assessment. Many agencies are having a hard time on a particular issue or several issues with structurally running their organization. And here's where we do a lot of work with some of our partners like CNA and National Policing Institute. We will be able to go in and help that agency get on track for a myriad of issues, some of them very, very good police departments. I'll mention 2 in particular. I think Boston's a great PD, and Sacramento, And they reached out to us recently for an organizational assist from the cops office. They don't really need advice from the cops office, but on a particular area, a couple of particular areas, they were looking to really improve their response in their communities, whether it's crime analysis, restructuring their department, community engagement, human resources, recruitment and retention with some of the creative things that we've done. And so it's very helpful, some of the stuff we can push forth. Along with Collaborative Reform Initiative and the grants, the last cycle that I had mentioned, the third leg of the stool, are resources and publications. So since the beginning, the COPS office has been in operation for 30 years. So 2 days ago, we had the 30th anniversary of the COPS office in DC. It was a fabulous event. It really was. It was great. It was great to see the original members of the COPS team. All the past directors of the COPS office came in. I was honored to host a roundtable discussion on where policing was then in 1994. 1994 was a big year, where the message back then in 94 was to put 100,000 cops on the street. And that was the inception of the COPS office. And they did that. And right now we're well over hundreds of thousands of police officers that this office has put out there, and along with all of this other grant funding. But so 30 years we've been in existence, where $20 billion has been put in play. As well on the publication side, please go to our website. If you do nothing else after you leave this conference, if you have an opportunity, it's a really good and active website. We put out over 800 publications since 1994. They're very well done, including the one on, I mentioned Memphis, Tennessee, and Tyree Nichols and specialized units. Leadership had asked me to run that convening session because they wanted guidance to police leaders around the country about specialized units. And there was a feeling in the beginning, at the time, like, is this a moment to disband specialized units in law enforcement around the country? And so I was called in and I said, absolutely not. I mean, those units need to be run accountably, transparently, professionally. You need to be careful who you select to be supervisors of those units. There has to be constant supervision and oversight. But to disband those specialized units, I never would have had the success I did in Providence. We really drove crime down to incredible numbers I never thought we would. And much of that success was because of well-run specialized units like they do in some of the other larger departments, NYPD, LAPD, all the big departments. Specialized units are integral to the work, but they have to be properly run. Getting back to publications, our publications are very well done. There's 800 of them. The other one I'll mention is Uvalde. That was an important one that we were tasked with going into the city of Uvalde and going out there and doing a review. We are not an investigative body, so our task then was to go in and do a review. So the staff at COPS went there 9 times, 54 days, over 265 interviews, reviewed 1,400 pieces of evidence, and put out some guidance on decision-making, leadership, tactics. There was a failure in leadership from moment one right on through, and it was tragic to that community. So the guidance put out in that 600-page report is really good, and I think everyone can learn something in your communities. Of course, you're not going to read the 600 pages, but please try to read the 25, 30-page executive summary. There are really some good things you can latch on to help your organization move forward. But that was a failure, and I think we all know we had to call that out. Lastly, I'll mention some work we're doing in helping keep our men and women who bravely, courageously go out there and serve. We're doing a lot with the Fraternal Order Police, with keeping data. Every single year, I haven't been every year, but I probably have been 15 times to the Law Enforcement Memorial. I have the honor these last couple of years while I'm here of being up there and proudly reading off the names of those officers who have tragically been killed in the line of duty. So this year there were 282 names that were read off. The total number of names on that wall is 24,067. If you haven't been there, it's really a phenomenal wall that you should walk by and visit and pay tribute to. That's a lot of names of people who have worn a badge and been sworn to serve. And so that's an important event. But I bring that up because along with the FOP, we are now finally collecting data, important data, on police officers being shot in the line of duty. That had never been done before, but it's a COPS program administered by the FOP, funding from COPS to the FOP. And in 2022, I'll give you the last 2 years, not good. The data is not good, as you can imagine. In 2022, there were 330 police officers who were shot. And then it got worse in 2023, and there were, it went from 330 to 378. So 330 in 2022, 378 in 2023. Of those 378, and you think about it, these are young men and women who are being shot for what they're doing, trying to protect their communities. Of those 378, 115 were ambush-type attacks. And they've taken no action. They were just ambushed. And of those 115, there were 136 police officers who were shot for no other reason than being sworn and protecting their communities. Some uniforms, some plain clothes. So I thank the leadership for allowing me this opportunity to speak. It's a moment we're in, and we're doing a lot in the COPS office to promote not only police departments, but communities. I speak to the NLC, the National Leagues of Cities and Towns, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and they care passionately about protection and safety in their communities. It's a serious moment right now. There's a lot of tension domestically, nationally. There's a lot of geopolitical tension that we all know. I just came from a meeting after our anniversary event. We had a meeting in the Department of Justice with all high-level officials, and we're talking about threats around the country to election officials, school officials, people in leadership in criminal justice, whether it's judges, police chiefs. We have issues with doxing, swatting. They're now attacking with internet. You can attack family members. They'll find out who your family is, and they're making threats towards families, and that will make anyone think twice. It's important to have all of this coordination and collaboration, and that's why I commend. I'm going to a session here at 1 o'clock, and I think there's another one at 2:30 on the coordination of intelligence and information. I'm a huge advocate of RTCCs, real-time crime centers, and fusion centers, and the more information, the better to put out to as many eyes and ears who can receive it and help us in the mission. To look at these problems with a community-wide lens approach is the only way to address these issues, in that we all know we will never be able to arrest our way out of any one of these social ills, but collectively, together, collaboratively, we can do a much better job of and gain much better headway in attacking these. So thank you for what you do. I will be here all afternoon and tomorrow morning, and I'll be around tonight as well. We have members of our team here. Pleasure to meet some of you, and I applaud the work you do, and keep up the good work. God bless.
Well, thank you, Director, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us today. For those in the group, just so you know, we're going to head to breakouts. We're going to be starting closer to 1:10, but if you could head to your breakouts, we'll be starting close to 1:10 as possible. And I hope you guys have a good afternoon.